either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast, MicroViews. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And today, we reflect back on true wishes coming true, true love finding its place. Or does it?
True, I guess.
We're doing one that you have been hounding us to do for a very long time.
Yes.
And everyone I've talked to about Disney movies has said this is the best, hands down best, Disney sequel. And let me tell you,
Yep.
It does not give me hope for any additional sequels after this.
That's good. Yep, you're not wrong.
We're doing Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time.
One of the best sequels Disney's ever produced, like you said. Though I would say it does depend a little bit on who you talk to on which one is the best.
Okay.
There's a lot of people who have a very soft spot for Lion King 2. Not Lion King 1.5, which is good, but technically not as it's a different thing.
It's an in-between,
It's an in-betweenquel, correct. And then some people have a very fond soft spot for one of the Aladdin sequels. But I would argue that a lot of this comes down to which type of animated man you're attracted to.
Yeah. Prince of Thieves is the Aladdin one, because that's the one that I grew up with. That's like the only Disney sequel I had watched.
Yes. So this is the one where we finally get a prince with some actual personality. We get an expansion on some evil, which is fun. And according to one of the animators, and I believe also the director, they attempted to make the most evil villain Disney had ever seen. That was their own words, not mine.
Weak sauce.
Yeah, I agree. We could have gone harder.
Well, to be fair, we do also get consequence in this one, so that's kind of nice.
Very, very interesting, yes.
Yeah. So Cinderella 3 is screenplay by Dan Berenson, Margaret Hiderney?
No idea.
Colleen Milia Vitamila,
Mm-hmm.
and Eddie Guazelian.
Sure.
Directed by Frank Neeson.
Of course.
Stars none of the original cast, shocker.
No, but some of the ones from the second one do come back.
Yeah, to be fair, this is way, way after the original.
Yeah, this came out in 2007. The original one, remember, 1950.
Yes.
So...
But Jennifer Hale as Cinderella.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Daniel Barnes as Prince Charming.
A delightful job.
Susan Blakesley as the stepmother.
Mm-hmm.
And Tress McNeely as Anastasia.
Yeah, a fantastic cast, honestly.
Yeah, I mean...
They did a good job.
They do. The one thing that I kind of... Okay, so right off, yes. I am going to say I'm annoyed with it being musical right off the bat.
It is a Disney sequel. It is contractually obligated to be a musical.
As it seems to be most Disney movies in general are.
True, and remember that Disney sequels were thriving in the 90s to the early 2000s. This was actually close to the end, if not, some people believe, the end of the direct-to-VHS Disney true sequels.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, this is the rise of the direct-to-video just in general. I mean, well, it's kind of I don't think it ever really died now that I think about it, because, like, the big boom was the 70s and 80s. I mean, it was still a thing in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And even today, we have a bunch of direct-to-video stuff, but I don't think it has as much prominence as people would say with these types of movies or a lot of the Disney Barbie movies.
Oh, no, absolutely. And you have to remember that is around 2010 that Disney decided to really kind of kill their VHS tape series in general. VHSs were out of series. Like, people did not own them. We were well into DVD era by then. Yeah. Most homes had a DVD player. Most people were buying DVD. And on top of that, Disney was finding that they weren't really making a good return on investment on these cheap, quick movies. Where they did make a return on investment was the live action ones, especially because by this point we had Disney Channel. So they didn't even have to pay for it to be on DVD. You just pay to have it on the channel, which is where most of their efforts suddenly turned. This is kind of the end of an era.
Interesting.
Which is also why this one stands out. You'll notice that the plot of this one is much more well thought through than the other garbage that you have not seen yet, but I have.
Yeah, so, okay, well, I do hate that it's a musical. I do like that it starts off with it being only a year later, and that we are actually seeing the step-siblings and stepmother face consequences.
Yes.
And just the way they go about bringing it in. Well, I do think that part's kind of dumb of the stepmother with her butterfingers. It's kind of
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of silliness in this movie.
Yeah, it's actual revenge from the evil characters.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's surprisingly well written. It's surprisingly well voiced.
Mm-hmm.
The animation's also has been tuned just a little bit. It's still the low budget Disney animation, so you're not looking at something beautiful. But it's a little bit nicer than, say, the second one, or honestly, a lot of the other very quick money grab ones where we turn the animation almost all the way down.
Go to Tubi for those. There's a ton of them.
There's so many. And a lot of people remember them because Disney Channel for a while would replay them, and then when Disney Plus originally came out, these sorts of like filler, honestly bullshit movies were like the first things that they tested out. Because like, oh, you don't own it, do you? No one sells that. Isn't it fun that it's on here? And then they kind of ramped up into what they are now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it is also a movie that there are some things I also appreciate with it, and getting the revenge of ripping them apart, like undoing the magic. And again, this is another thing where we see the magic as green. We'll talk about that a little bit more next week.
Yes, we will.
It is just that continuation of that Disney style where they set up the fall so well in the beginning, but it does make me have a lot of questions.
This movie answers more, but there's so many. This movie breaks a lot of rules.
Well, my main question is, while Prince Charming and everyone else forgets their memories, Snow White, or not Snow White,
no, wrong princess,
Cinderella still remembers it, and it seems like you guys could have
wiped her
memory too a little bit, and made her less of a make it more so that true love would have found them all regardless of the circumstances, instead of her having to actively try and fight back for the prince.
Sure. I actually do kind of have a reason for this one for you.
Okay.
So I did do a tiny bit of digging on this movie, and director Frank was surprisingly vocal about his work on this film. He did spend a lot of extra effort rewatching the original Cinderella to try and understand why the character was the way she was, and also to help direct the animation style a little bit. And one of the things that he notes when talking about this movie was that he noticed that the Cinderella from the 50s was really a focal point for women of the 50s, and he wanted to bring Cinderella into a more modern understanding of her. To do that means that she needs to have a little bit more agency in this movie than just, honestly, her role really should be just, not involved. It's all about the prince and Anastasia.
Yeah, kind of like when we talked about, what was the Barbie one you had us watch at the start of the season?
Mm-hmm.
The Princess and the Pauper one.
Exactly.
Where it's that end of, gearing towards, the strong woman, but it's not I'm trying to think
there's
of
still a princessiness there.
Yeah, there's still the princessiness, but she's still strong in her own ways.
Exactly. This is honestly roughly around the same time period. So yeah, the idea of what makes a good, strong princess. So she still has to have some role in this movie, which is why she's honestly has the role she does. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, you're right, this movie could have been a very romantic retelling of true love will find a way, a reimagining of the connection that they had at the ball. Yeah. But that would remove Cinderella entirely.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And it also shows that magic isn't perfect and it doesn't solve your issues. True. It actually makes them a little bit more complicated, and even the prince realizes something's off, even though they've technically fixed everything with magic.
Very true. And one of the things that a lot of people give this movie praise for is the prince. Mm-hmm. This is one of the very few movies from Disney where the prince gets not only an upgrade in personality, because a lot of the sequels try and give the prince more screen time. This is one of the few times where he's almost the main character. He is the second in command character. So he gets a lot of character, he gets a lot of personality, and a lot of people loved that about this.
Yeah, well, and I think that is a nice thing about it, too, of how we complain in some movies where, complain
loosely
that the woman's just the eye candy.
Yeah, normally in Disney movies the prince is the eye candy.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing of ooh, yes, we like to watch it, but when you get down to a story level, it's this is kind of really stupid.
Yeah, truthfully, there's only a handful of Disney quote unquote princes or love interests who are truly like a full, fleshed out character. Aladdin being one, Tarzan being one, and Simba, the lion, technically one.
Yeah.
But again, it's one of those instances where, like, you can almost count on one hand the interesting, fully developed princely characters that Disney has created.
Well,
the fact that in a sequel we bothered to, like, not just give him character, but, like, make him likable, make him very unique in his own, when he didn't have hardly any lines in the first movie.
You know, think about the counter to that as well, is like, as we've seen Disney age, now that we've talked about their male lead roles.
Yeah, they are spending much more effort on it.
The women in those movies also are interesting in their own rights, too, and
we're getting closer
strong.
to a balance of having, like, two interesting real people.
Yeah.
We're
like,
getting so close.
Hell, Mulan.
Yes. Truthfully, yes. And honestly, even the second one still manages to balance two very interesting main characters. It's more goofy. It's very much still in the heart of VHS Disney.
Okay.
But it does maintain both characters, and it shows a little bit of, trouble in Happily Ever After.
Yeah, I'll take your word for that.
You would hate it. You would hate that movie. But one of the things that makes this movie even more interesting is they didn't really have a role model for Prince Charming's character. Because again, his character in the first movie is Prince Charming. And he has, 5 lines?
Well, that's the same thing with all these classic fairy tales, is most of the characters don't have a personality. It's just they're there to convey the meaning of a story.
So the director wanted some kind of base, but not a direct representation of any specific person. So they did a lot of work to make sure that this character was not just them retelling any one actor or hiring any one actor to be him, but he did admit that his main inspiration was Hugh Grant. He tried to take a lot of the facial expressions, a lot of the joking and lightheartedness, but still maintaining a little bit of that, other princeliness.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 90s. He's kind of a heartthrob.
He was a huge inspiration for a lot of people, so makes sense.
Inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and not just that, too, with the other characters, going back to the step-siblings a little bit. It's Anastasia's redemption story of, them realizing, hey, I've been kind of selfish and a horrible person.
Yeah.
And honestly, it is all the stepmothers' influences as well, but kind of breaking that generational trend of, oh, wow, she was so happy. I was so happy, but I stole this happiness from someone else. This isn't my happiness.
Exactly. And this is one of the few times where, while you do not need to see the second one, I honestly cannot recommend it. It's not a very good movie. The second one does start the idea of Anastasia having a little bit more of a moral dilemma with being who she is and how her family has treated Cinderella. And this one takes that concept and really runs with it. And it is this retelling, along with the phenomenal, guest interaction that the live characters do in person, that have really driven home these two characters as fan favorites. Yes, Anastasia's clearly, the most favorite. She has her own movie, damn it. But having these side characters turn around and be, more interesting, and they're not the fun side characters, so they're not like Flounder getting his own movie, or,
Flounder has a movie?
No, but a lot of people have talked about it. Or, Crush having his own interactive thing from Finding Nemo. The turtle.
Oh, the turtle.
The turtle.
Yeah.
So, having these side characters who are fun, they're easy, they're likable, they already have merch and are well recognized. Usually those are the ones that end up with a sequel if it's not going to be about the main princess.
Okay.
This is a very interesting take on having it be not just the evil and then we retelling the evil person's story. This is just the stepsister. Arguably the least evil of the three.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Well, to be fair,
yes.
Dear listeners, I have not watched the second one of these. I'm stuck with what I got, and I'm good.
You don't need to. You're fine.
But you saying that, I think that makes it a little bit more interesting than where it's not just, okay, well, we wanted to make a third movie. It kind of also continues the second movie's ideas.
Yes, and honestly, 9 times out of 10, Disney, all of these movies live by themselves in their own little world and barely even reference their own first movie. I mean, look at Aladdin. Yes, talks about the first movie. We're in our own world. We're on our own timeline. Don't worry about it. The only other one that truly, follows the same logic is Lion King. And that one a lot of people felt was really ground and mold breaking. Because it did. It had a direct sequel and we knew exactly what timeline and the implications. And then it's in between cool, played very heavily on the comedic part, but again,
Okay.
side characters who are well loved and already marketable.
Well, and see, that's something that when you talk about the side characters and the marketability, that you see this definitely dive more into trying to get a younger audience to get their parents to buy all these sequels.
Absolutely.
Because one thing I noticed is that it's much gaggier with the mice and especially the two stepsisters as well, to the point where it's like, okay, this is I understand it's a Disney movie, but it feels so different than where Disney had moved on by Cinderella.
And part of that is because we've talked about this a little bit before, but Disney is essentially the overhead umbrella company, and now there's like little studios sprinkled throughout, and they are kind of their own islands inside Disney. This one was a Disney Toons studio product. Most of these side sequels were. And they also developed a bunch of the stuff for TV, which explains why a lot of them were already comfortable doing a lot of very silly stuff. It bleeds in. We know it's going to sell. It's right for the audience, who's mostly the preschool to early elementary school age.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Something, though, that is interesting is this almost was a silly, fun side character movie. There was originally a plot where Gus was going to find a magical world filled with mice, who, like, essentially was like a retelling of Cinderella, but mice form, is my understanding. It was scrapped.
Good.
But it is interesting that they got close to doing the very predictable thing, and then instead went completely the other direction.
Yeah, and I'm kind of glad they did, because I think that would have made it not memorable at all, because it's just Cinderella Mice .0.
Very true. And the other thing that I like about this one is there's also clearly some influence from the original fairy tales coming back through in a different way. Having the pumpkin be an actual pumpkin and trapping her is very reminiscent of, not necessarily Cinderella, I think it's Pumpkin Princess. I can't remember exactly. I couldn't find it. I have this like Mother Goose fairy tale book from way back in the day. One of the stories was a little girl who is trapped inside a pumpkin. She lives in the pumpkin's her house. She is not allowed to leave pumpkin. And it is very reminiscent of the style of the like end chase scene, but then wrapped back into turning it into a carriage but evil sort of situation. So it was nice to see like we were playing back off of more fairy tales for a sequel that normally they don't touch them. They don't bother.
Yeah, they want to do their own story and have it completely separate entity.
Exactly.
But in speaking of the evil, like the stepmother, I like that she has a little bit more of a role in this rather than like in the Disney one or they're both Disney.
Well, we know what you mean.
In the first one where she's evil light, it just feels like she's a bad mother and not like truly evil. This
one, I agree. She feels evil. The first one, she just feels like a bitch.
Yeah.
This time she's an evil bitch.
Yeah, you use another word, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. The first one is, like, taking the form, right? She's following the footsteps of a lot of other Disney villains, or villainesses, especially.
Villainesses that have access to magic.
True. This one, she really goes harder than a lot of those other villains or villainesses do, because she's now more of a focus in the story, as opposed to just being... honestly, like, the plot point or, like, the final battle. She's the battle of the whole movie.
Yeah.
Which makes this movie surprisingly fast-paced.
Yeah, it's a pretty short, too, I think. Yeah, hour 13, so it's about as long as the original. And because we have this intense evil magic from right away at the beginning, there is more action, more chase scenes sprinkled throughout this movie than one would assume. There's a lot of stuff happening almost all the time. Yeah, well, and like even some of the throwbacks of like Jacques and Gus trying to steal the wand back, and the stepmother not falling for the trick again. Yeah, exactly. So that I do, now that we talk about it more and more, and you have your better knowledge about the rest of the Disney universe, I do find it interesting that they are interweaving a lot of these other stories and other elements back and forth into this movie, while still kind of hearkening back to the original idea of Cinderella, that true love will find you if you're good of heart, basically. Absolutely. And still managing to do it on the tiny budget that these VHS movies were given, and with the knowledge that we're no longer trying to get parents to take children to the movies. We're just solely trying to get a parent to buy a VHS tape
to entertain a preschooler for an hour after school.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, there's nothing wrong in that. I get it. And that's why we're doing these as microviews. We're not...
Exactly.
They don't...
I mean, there's a place for that type of movie, for sure.
Yeah. And the one thing I will say is, comparatively to some of the other direct-to-video non-Disney Princess or Cinderella retellings, is that it doesn't feel... You don't feel cheated, and it doesn't feel cheap in regards to, like... A lot of the other ones is Cinderella so good at the end that she finds husbands for her stepsisters.
Yeah.
So like it ends it up in like a really happy note, whereas this one has like still kind of that like sourness at the end, that it's not everything is happy and hunky dory for everyone at the end of this movie.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The part of the reason this one managed to get away without a true like full happy ending for everyone, you know, roses and sunshine, is like I said, this is the end of Disney's direct-to-VHS era, which means that director talks about how he didn't have a ton of oversight. He was kind of allowed to do whatever he wanted, which is, I think, part of the reason why this one ended up having the ending it did. Cinderella gets her man. Anastasia doesn't have a bad ending, but it's not a rewarded ending.
No, it's because she's not getting rewarded for doing something evil, but she still has a happy-ish enough ending where it's like, okay, I can move out and be my own person, and I don't have to be this horrible bitch of a stepsister or sister or daughter that I've been this entire time.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that I really liked about this movie is at the very end, the credits for this one are sprinkled with very standard Disney paintings that of like things that potentially could happen afterwards. None of it's technically canon, but Disney likes making these paintings, especially for in real person. They're all over the resorts, they're all over the Disney parks, and especially all over the Disney cruises, which is very interesting because Twice to Charm was a live-action stage production specifically for the Disney cruise that was just before this came out.
Oh.
Granted, you had to be a pretty hardcore Disney fan to, like, see both of these things. The target audience of direct-to-VHS Cinderella and Disney Cruise stage play is not exactly a perfect circle, you know?
Yeah.
But a lot of people did kind of wonder if maybe there was some overlap at all. As far, the director claims there's not. But it is interesting that both happened at the same time.
Yeah, parallel thinking. And back a little bit to your talking of how he didn't have a lot of oversight. It makes me think a little bit of when we went and talked about Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. And how,
same idea.
Yeah, how they weren't harper or hankered down by a studio saying, well, we have to change X, Y, and Z because that's more marketable. It's just like, no, we're going to put together a relatively good story and see how it works out from there.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that, like, even without changing the budget terribly much and still having the same timeline, which pretty short for these movies, it's nice to see that, like, with a little bit of attention to detail, the animation on this isn't terrible.
No, I was actually surprised, but to be fair,
normally
most of the direct-to-video stuff I was watching is very direct-to-video that someone made this in Flash Paint.
Yeah, and I mean, even Disney is pretty... They have a bad record of making stuff very flat, very cheap, and I get it. I see why they do it. I mean, the less people working on it, the faster you can make it, the more money you're gonna make. But it is nice to see that, like, this could be a standard we hold. Unfortunately, the program died. So we're not going to get a ton more of this.
Yeah, they're now invested in live-action sequels and remakes or
live-action
reboots.
retellings. Ugh. But that's a problem for a different day.
So, Chris, rent by streamer decline that we ever watched Cinderella 3, A Twist in Time, despite having an audio recording of us watching it.
You have the DVD of this.
I do.
So let's be clear. And we know that I am a lover of fun and fancy-free DVD menus. But this one doesn't really have one. I'm so sorry. Whereas the original Cinderella had at least a couple of dress-up games and some mild behind-the-scenes, the only fun feature on this one is the song that was created for this. There's a music video that goes with it. Meh. So, at one point this was on Disney+. I recommend streaming it if it's available still there. If not, watch it for free from the library. Don't pay money for this.
Yeah, or if you do buy it, go to a discount movie store and find it as cheap as you can.
Or if it comes in like
eBay.
or if you can get the box set where the second and third one are like combined in the same DVD. Honestly, that's where it's at, because there's no special benefits of buying this one, and you can find it cheaply in person. Buying it on eBay is a little. People for some reason like to put a little extra price tag on Disney.
Yeah,
so.
they think because it's Disney and it's platinum or whatever edition, that's worth some money.
Nah, just go buy it from the thrift store.
Yeah, I'm gonna go as well with Stream It. Like, it's entertaining. I think they did a good job remixing kind of the storytelling of fairy tale, love at first sight.
It's nicely updated.
Yeah,
more modern.
Yeah, it's enough of a twist,
yes,
so to say. But I don't suggest recommend to go buy this. I'm not gonna rewatch this unless I've got a niece over that's super into Disney princesses.
My husband hasn't quite finished it because he missed the first half. Maybe guys' night. I'm
not doing that. I've got so much other stuff. They need to watch Meatball Machine Kodoku.
That's true.
Yes. But that's been Cinderella. We're still continuing our Silver Age of Disney next week with less active princess for once.
yeah, she gets a lot of flack for that. We'll talk about it.
But yeah, we'll get into it.
We'll get into it.
But anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird MicroViews.
Thanks for listening.
Peace. Thank you for stopping by this here town of the Good, the Bad, and the Weird. We appreciate your listenership, and if you want more of our takes in your life, feel free to check us out on social media at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, or TGTBTW for short. As well, if we missed a fact, your favorite part of a movie, or just have a suggestion and want to reach out and say howdy, feel free to email us at tgtbtwpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to join our Discord at The Good, the Bad, and the Weird Podcast, where we talk about movies, just share random banter here and there. And always, check out our podcasters, streamers, or any other content creator we shout out in our episodes. We really appreciate it. And as always, thank you for listening. Peace!